Wow, thank you, Bangara. That was amazing. Now, just a little bit more housekeeping. When the performances are on, can we ask that nobody uses flashes? Because it actually distracts the dancers and it's not very good for them. Now I would like to introduce a video message from the Australian Environment Minister, Tony Burke, and he's going to tell us a little bit of a story how this whole journey got started.
G'day to Tony Burke, the Environment Minister. You've no idea how much I wish I was there with you on country, and I want to acknowledge the traditional owners and elders past and present. I've got to say the gathering that's there today I view as one of the greatest things I've been associated with as Australia's Environment Minister. And part of what I love about the gathering there for the World Indigenous Network is that while I view it very personally as something that means the world to me, it wasn't my idea, it wasn't my initiative, and I haven't organised it. That's all come every step of the way from the leadership of Indigenous land and sea managers. It's happened to people in their local communities who look after areas of land and sea country that have been looked after by their families for generations, for millennia. The first conversation was in the Kimberley. For those of you who don't know Australia well, the Kimberley is your northern area in far Western Australia. And there's a magnificent place there known as the Buccaneer Archipelago. Well, we just put that West Kimberley area on Australia's National Heritage List. And a few of us were going out camping with traditional owners that night. And first of all, we went out fishing. Now, as fishing trips go, we really didn't catch anything, so you could view it as an abject failure. But what we did catch was an idea. When as the sun started to go down and we started to feel a bit dejected that the fish hadn't been biting at all, Wayne Bergman from the Kimberley Land Council just leans back on the back of the vessel and says to me, "What do you think about having a network of Indigenous rangers?" And from that moment, from that conversation, we haven't looked back.
Inspired by how our cultural leaders from all over the Kimberley would come together and share ideas. And as I worked in the Land Council, I could see it became increasingly more important that we build a house of ideas.
The ideas spread throughout the ministry and went to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister then went to the Rio Plus 20 conference, and from there the ideas spread around the world, and now the world has come to Darwin. It's all made possible not because governments have been involved, but because the quality of the work you do is second to none. I'm forever telling people that of all the environmental work that I've seen as Australia's Environment Minister, it's the work of what we call Indigenous rangers that just eclipses pretty much anything else. You take people out of the landscape and the management collapses, your fire management doesn't occur. A whole lot of practices that have been occurring for millennia here in Australia, the environment itself hinges on that management continuing. And for 200, 150 years, there was an attempt to ignore all of that. And we lost a lot of wildlife on the way through. We lost a lot of the ecology. We lost a lot of the magic of Australia's landscape. Since we started accepting the obvious, that traditional knowledge held the key to actually looking after our planet, since we got to that point, we've seen a complete revolution in so many parts of landscape. None more significant than fire management, where we're allowing traditional fire management practices to bring back a whole lot of aspects of our magnificent landscape that otherwise could easily have been lost forever.
The land is precious and valuable because Aboriginal people, Indigenous people have managed these environments for hundreds of thousands of years. And now it's this precious environment that people so want to protect and preserve. So it's a matter of creating this process where Aboriginal people can share what they've been taught so that we can maintain those traditions. And we have, two-way learning where the Western world can learn from Indigenous people about how they've managed their country and why it is how it is. And Western science can be married into this so that we can have the best of both worlds.
Those sorts of seeds of knowledge exist in communities all around the world. In its own right, we said this traditional knowledge needs to find a forum where it can be shared. Well, here you are. And you're here because you know that the knowledge you have in managing land and sea country is something truly extraordinary. Now, there's a whole lot of conversations that have been happening, including with the Equator Alliance, about trying to make sure that what happens in Darwin in these next few days is something that has a way of continuing with a permanent secretariat, with these sorts of gatherings continuing to occur in future years around the world. But the most important part of it all goes right back to the core of the knowledge that's being shared.
We need to see Indigenous people from around the world get together and share knowledge and ideas about what they're doing about looking after country.
Right at the heart of all of this is there is traditional knowledge that contains the absolute keys and treasure to looking after our planet. You've been willing, by participating in this conference, to unlock and share the treasured knowledge that you hold. I can't think of many environmental gatherings that come close to the importance of what you're there to do today. While I'm not physically there, please know I am absolutely there in spirit and believe passionately in what you do. I don't believe anyone can be serious about caring for the environment on our planet, whether it be on land or in the oceans, without knowing that your knowledge lies at the heart of making this real. Thank you for being there. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you share. And please, from a conversation that began on a very small and very unsuccessful fishing trip that's grown into where you are today, please let it keep growing and let that precious information that you hold continue to be shared for the good of our planet.
I would say Ranger just bring out the inside person.
I have a new idea. Our land is probably the most precious thing we got, other than our family.
It almost feels like I'm home.
Who want to be Ranger?
See you in Darwin.